Tonight on Video Game Movie Anatomy, we're going to see where the anger began. We're talking about Angry Birds that just came out a couple of weeks ago. Is this 99-cent app worth your time and money? Stay tuned.
Welcome to Popcorn Talk, featuring movie discussion, news, and interviews. Popcorn Talk. We talk movie. And now, here's Popcorn Talk's Video Game Movie Anatomy.
Hello everybody and welcome to another episode of Video Game Movie Anatomy. We're here talking about the 2016 movie Angry Birds, based on the 2009 app of the same name. Is it worth spending 99 cents on the app, or all the different iterations of the app, or seeing this movie? We're here to tell you about that today. I am one of your hosts, the internet's Mark B. Donica. You can find me on Twitter at Mark B. Donica, and joining me as always, Mrs. Stacey Shuttleworth.
That's right, I'm Stacey Shuttleworth. You can find me on Twitter at Stacey Shuttles, or on Twitter and the rest of the web as Nerds Doing Stuff.
That's right. Patrick Deeds is out on assignment, as he usually is. He's a very wayward traveler. If you want to follow him, he is on Twitter at P to the D's. So today on Video Game Movie Anatomy, where we break down some of the best and worst film adaptations of interactive media, we're going to be talking about Angry Birds as it is billed. Find out why the birds are so angry when an island populated by happy, flightless birds is visited by mysterious green piggies. It's up to 3 unlikely outcasts, Red, Chuck, and Bomb, to figure out what the pigs are up to. So we saw this past weekend.
We did. And
off the bat, do we want to do opinions, or do we want to go to our speed run?
We talk opinions
okay.
a little bit.
Sure. So what did you think?
I was really surprised about this movie, actually, that I enjoyed it as much as I did.
Yeah.
I figured it would be very funny and have a lot of the really corny jokes for laughs, like directly just, this is stupid, but it's going to make people laugh. But it was a well put together movie overall.
The cast list was solid when they announced it, so that initially made you think, this could have something. They've got a good amount of people behind it. And then once the first trailer hit, everybody went, oh, this could be something. This could be something that nobody was expecting. And it dethroned Captain America's Civil War in its second week.
Which is pretty huge.
Pretty ridiculous. It's got 2 first-time directors, Clay Kaytisand Fergal Reilly. We'll get to them when we talk about them later in the show, but I think them, along with the crew at Rovio, made a solid movie that's more than just, oh, this is popular, let's see if people will see it. Let's just try to shill as much advertising money as we could, which they shilled a lot of it. Wow. So, pretty positive. If you haven't seen Angry Birds, there's a lot coming out right now in theaters. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2 just came out. If you haven't seen Civil War, too many good movies. But
lots of trips.
This should fit amongst ones that you go see as soon as possible before it leaves theaters. Very worth it. A good score, good cast, good jokes. Let's get into it with something that we call our speed run. Our speed run is a definitive statement. It's like a box quote on the back of the movie, on the back of the game when you're in your local GameStop. For example, Mortal Kombat has a cheesy script but nails the spirit of the game. Stacey, what do you have for Angry Birds?
All right, so now keep in mind I actually enjoyed this movie quite a lot.
Okay.
So Angry Birds the movie contributes literally nothing to the betterment of humanity nor enriches the morals of your children. Despite that, the surprisingly well-developed film is entertaining as hell and delivers no shortage of laughs.
That's pretty good, despite the backhanded compliment. But
not every movie has to have a huge message, though. I'm okay with that.
And I will say, Ratchet & Clank was trying so hard to hit us over the head with a message that it lost substance.
True.
While getting there. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I could say. And now I'm trying to think back on Ratchet & Clank and see what I actually remember, and it's the stuff that's from the games.
Yeah.
And nefarious at the end. Anyway.
They tried to shove a lot down your throat, whereas this one was just like, no, this is for fun.
Yeah, so in a game that you could download for free, you should spend the time and the money to make this experience one that you won't forget, because it's good. So it's hard to expound upon, it's good. Well, what do we do now? The show's usually about ripping on game-based movies.
I really don't have all that many negative things to say about it.
No, and I think the good thing about this versus Ratchet and Clank is it has so little to go off of. It's always been the pigs steal the eggs, the birds get the pigs back from the eggs. You get new birds, but it's always the same thing.
Right.
So with Ratchet and Clank, that's had a lifetime's worth. Like some kids who are playing Ratchet and Clank for the first time with this movie, or with that movie, not this movie, and going, oh, what's this Lombax business about? What's this robot business about? And there's too much story there to try to cram into one movie to appeal to all audiences. Right. Whereas this one does it super, super successful. Yeah. So we're going to go from there to something that we call our controller toss moment. That's a moment when you're, or phone toss moment, where you're playing a game or you're watching a film and you silently have a "you've got to be kidding me," and you throw your phone, hopefully this is a good case, or your controller across the room. And we've had this be positive before.
I've got one of each in this case.
Okay, go ahead.
So I'll start with the negative one, the kind of weird one that made me go, okay, hold on, no. So there's a scene in the movie where our main Pegg is thinking about the eggs, and he's just discovered them, and it goes into this weird romantic dream sequence of him like courting the egg and like having romantic dates with the egg, and it just got real weird.
The weirdest thing about that is it uses a tropey romantic song, "Why Do Birds Suddenly Appear?" But in this context, it makes it seem like I can just give me the eggs. I don't want birds to suddenly appear because that means I can't eat them.
It's a weird scene.
It's really disturbing almost if you look into it a little bit too much. Harold was weird. The king pig was a little weird. So one of my I would say negative one is there's a mime in this movie. Oh, God. I have no idea why there's a mime in this movie. It seems like anytime you want to get a cheap But
he's not a good mime.
No, he's not.
He keeps talking.
And are mimes things for kids these days? I think that's
Do kids still know what mimes are?
Exactly, because I think this is where the European influence of the creative team came in, because mimes might still be big in Europe. We don't know.
Okay.
But to have the joke about the mime is that the mime talks sometimes, and it's like, oh, it's supposed to be funny, but one of the first thing the mime does is talk.
Yes, and then and maybe like once towards the middle of the movie for shock value it would have been really funny. But it starts off right out the bat. Oh, this mime isn't a very good mime. And
it's also in the trailers, which I do not. Like, if there's anything that I would instantly throw out of this movie, it's the mime. Even when they tossed him at the finale, like that.
Yeah.
Is that supposed to make us feel better? Now you're just hurting an innocent person. Yeah. So the mime was for me. What was another one of yours?
Well, so my other one was a great one. So Chuck, the yellow bird, who we know, zooms into speed, super speed in the games, and he does a little bit of that in the movie too, when he goes into a Quicksilver parody, taking out a couple of enemies.
Yeah, the slow motion breakdown of all of the piggies. That was real. That was a fun scene.
When I realized what was going on, that was a good moment.
That's more of it, not a controller toss moment, but one where you put down and you just watch the cinematic as it's happening, and then when it says press X, you're like, oh crap.
Okay.
Uncharted did that to me. Uncharted 2 did that to me, where I was like, oh, the game's over, and then it went, hey, you better hold X or y'all gonna die. Nope.
Nah.
Yeah. I really had the mime, just the mime.
The big one.
There's not too much that. I really liked the references and how they tossed them in and incorporated them in the movies and dialogue and whatever. So I wouldn't consider them controller toss moments, but I totally agree with yours.
Yeah, that's weird because they were super over the top and in your face references, but it wasn't like, oh my god, this is so annoying, just stop it. It was, oh my god, they made another piggy reference.
Well, I would say there was one that fell on Andrew, my fiance's, deaf ears because she never or who didn't play it with the sound on. Somebody said that they never played it with the sound on. Was that Andrew? Okay, yeah. So we did a double date with our significant others, but Andrea had never played with the sound on. So when at the top of the movie the kid got kicked and it made that whee, like it does in the games, she was like, "Oh, that's a cute sound effect." And I went, like, from the game, and she went, "I have no idea what you're talking about." So.
Could have been Robbie. I don't remember now.
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
Possibly Robbie. But
sounds like something you do.
We'll get more into the references and similarities in a second, but let's talk about this cast. I didn't have enough room on our sheet to include every single person, but just some highlights. Jason Sudeikis as our hero, Red. What did you think about his performance?
I liked him as Red. I thought it was pretty fun. A little less angry than probably could have, the way they made it seem in the trailers, like the just all-out rage. But I kind of like that it was a more
subtle sarcastic.
kind of, yeah.
It made it more relatable.
Fun.
It made it more relatable. Red was all of us.
I mean, I
really.
agreed with Red most of the time. Those birds were dumb.
That's what made him a hero.
Yeah.
Or our hero is the fact that everybody sort of has this latency, this latent anger, maybe not necessarily explosive anger or the ability to poop exploding eggs. But what you have is a hero that everybody can get behind. And I wonder if knowledge of the game makes it easier to get behind him because we know the pigs are bad, or which is so weird to think about. Or if somebody's going in there and going, well, you know what? He should be nice to those pigs. They're visitors. Because that is one thing that...
True. You've got that bias going into it, so you know he's right, so you're automatically on his side.
And I wonder if... But I think that there was a lesson that they tried to put in here. It just didn't... You had to find it. And that's... Don't... be wary of strangers. Don't necessarily completely disassociate yourself with them. But, you know, if...
I think you're stretching a little bit.
Maybe, but so think about it. You live on the coast, somebody comes in, destroys your house, and is like, oh, whatever, let's talk to you. I wouldn't trust that person.
No.
Based on their actions.
No reason to.
And that's not... And I think they may have included that... Well, there's a... Nah, it wasn't shoveled in, but it gives you instantly a reason to not like them, for Red to not like them, and for you to instantly think, think twice about them. Yeah,
you get that. Oh well, they don't care about this, so
why would they care about
that
the rest
path?
of the
Will probably,
And Red's
continue.
story, I thought Sudeikis was good. The dialogue was really good. I think the issue with me and Sudeikis is he's got one of those voices. His voice doesn't really stand out in this cast, but I guess it's not supposed to.
Yeah, I can see that. Because no, it wasn't like a standout performance. Like, I'm gonna remember that voice.
Well, and also
solid.
Red is the generic character. Not to say that Jason Sudeikis is a generic actor, because he did a great performance.
Right.
But he's just one of those voices, I guess. In the more we get animated features in the popular culture. Josh Gad as Chuck, the yellow bird, speed bird, absolutely phenomenal. His backstory was my favorite. Actually, no, Terrence's was my favorite because we never heard it. But of the ones that we saw, Chuck's was the most entertaining. Red's was the most sad, and Bomb was just unfortunate. Yeah, he's like the Butters of that group.
He was just kind of the bumbling, like, innocent one along for the ride.
The big innocent teddy bear that just might explode at any given moment.
You know,
and they didn't make that necessarily about anger. They made it more about surprise. Interesting. And speaking of Bomb, Danny McBride, wonderful innocent performance, representing Bomb right here for our video viewers. Absolutely loved him. Matilda, played by Maya Rudolph, who is the white bomb bird that runs the anger management course. Fun character.
She was great. Yeah, she was a lot of fun.
Because you got to see her on both sides. You got to see her angry, you got to see her you got to see her fight it and live with it and continue.
She had that, like, just barely contained anger, and she played it so well.
And it
just worked.
It wasn't quite just like a hippie... calm weirdo, but a lot of fun. Lot of fun. Bill Hader played the King of the Pigs. Leonard absolutely nailed it. Ever since he first showed up in a trailer, I was like, I'm gonna love this character, and I did.
Yeah,
totally did.
He was entertaining, even as he was being horribly evil.
Yeah,
in such a ridiculous way.
If there wasn't the evil part, he probably would be a pretty decent person. And if he is the smartest of all of the pigs, what does that say for the rest of the piggy culture? Unfortunate.
No.
One of my favorite performances in the entire film. Peter Dinklage as the Mighty Eagle. The Mighty Eagle is a power-up that you pay extra for, and it just annihilates everything on the screen. And I thought it would be funny if they had to like pay him in order to get him to do work.
That would have been great.
It would have been a little too meta, probably. But
that might have been one of the things that pushed it a little bit.
Maybe, yeah.
In your face.
Larger than life and a out of shape, out of work has-been hero that everybody on the island idolizes, but ends up becoming the catalyst for Red Chuck and Bomb to do something. Right. And I thought when at the end when he was like, I was trying to, motivate you to do what you did. He gave a face at the end of their first interaction with him that implied that's exactly what he was doing.
That it was kind of, the truth behind it, and not just the, I was here saving the day the whole time kind of excuse.
It was really bizarre. It was a weird choice if you were going to make a joke out of that when it seemed genuine. But I would like to hope that they motion captured Peter Dinklage doing all of the dancing that the Mighty Eagle ended up having to do in the movie.
I would love that footage.
Blu-ray.
A lot.
We're asking you, Sony, put that on the Blu-ray. Even if it didn't happen, make it happen.
He's danced before in the bloopers. There's got to be him dancing somewhere.
Sure. Just in the booth?
Yeah.
Why not? Sean Penn plays the large red bird, Terrence. Sean Penn surprised the crap out of me. It's just grunts.
Oh my gosh.
And I hope it was him singing at the end and laughing. The most frightening but compelling of our team of Angry Birds. What did you think of Terrence?
Amazing. You just think like this big terrifying bird. I mean, they're too scared to go into his case history. And then there's just all these little things about him that just keep getting thrown in. I mean, he's got, clearly has a sense of humor kind of thing. And then the singing at the end, I mean.
He's a beautiful soul, a misunderstood, beautiful soul that
who
only
does terrible things.
Terrible things. Other highlights include Keegan-Michael Key as Judge Peckinpah, Kate McKinnon as Stella, the pink bird, which is weird to not see her as a head. I get, and they gave her like an actual body. She also played the mom of the birthday egg that calls Red Daddy.
Right.
Tony Hale played several parts, including the dad. The ones that I found interesting, two of the other birds from later installments, Ian Hecox and Anthony Padilla, which you might recognize, you may not, as Smosh, played the balloon bird and the boomerang bird, respectively. How did they get into this movie? I don't know. There's a really good short about them getting the parts, and their humor has evolved since the days of lip syncing the Pokemon theme song. God,
they have grown a lot.
We just date ourselves.
A little bit, but
that's one of the first viral YouTube video. Oh my God.
Yeah, that was way back in the beginning.
Yeah, but they didn't contribute too much. But once they sort of showed their characters, I was like, oh, we're getting all of the birds. Awesome.
Yeah.
Which is weird. Angry Birds is one of those games where, and we'll get into game similarity, I suppose. Angry Birds is one of those games where it's like, you know what? I'm about to fall asleep. I need someone to make me fall asleep. I'll play Angry Birds for 20 minutes.
You're done.
What's your history with Angry Birds?
Yeah, it's very slow-paced for me. It's very frustrating.
Mm-hmm.
So I'd get really obsessed with it and play it for a while and get really frustrated with it and then stop playing it. But it was always a time killer. If I just needed, I was like, I'm sitting here. I can play Angry Birds. And then 45 minutes later, I'd be like, oh yeah, I should have moved on to something else by now.
It's a really good physics puzzle game, and the art style was always cute. You could fire the same bird a million ways, but for some reason it would affect all of the pillars differently. We got some of that weird construction in the Piggy Kingdom on Piggy Island.
That was kind of neat.
The castle being just a weird Susian nightmare of geometry.
It works, apparently.
There was something, and this shows you I played Angry Birds a little bit too much. There was something in the movie that made me a little bit mad, but it was a good comedy moment, but it wasn't canon. It wasn't Angry Birds canon. When they first display the power of the slingshot and they fire Red, he knocks into a rock and the rock breaks. The red bird can't break rocks. You can try to tell me that all you want. I'm not going to believe you. Sony, get out of here. I liked the movie up until that point. Had to check out. They had to pull me back into the theater, which had about 8 people in it, including us. But
yes, that really ruined it for you.
it did. It stuck in my brain.
You know what? For as much of the game that they managed to work in there, them missing that, I could see how you would get really frustrated.
I'm kidding. It's a fun comedy moment. So there were a couple of things in there. The score, like we played at the top, had a really fun swashbuckle way of playing the original theme. The wee from the kid that kicks the soccer ball against Red's house. My favorite one that I don't know if anybody, I don't know if you noticed or not, but after the survey, the customer survey, after he's the clown, he says on a scale of 1 to 3 stars,
yes.
How did I do? When I was just like, okay, how many are we getting them out of the way right away? Probably, maybe.
That's pretty good.
And then all of the birds had their abilities. So Hal, the boomerang bird, just barely reaches the castle and comes right back. Bubbles, the balloon bird, totally inflates. A lot larger than I remember, but Matilda.
Exaggerated for the movie. Okay,
it's fine.
It's fine.
This may or may not be canon.
Take a few liberties, all right?
I don't know if the audio listeners can understand how sarcastic I'm being. I hope they can. I really do. We got references to Angry Birds Go / Bad Piggies, which both involve like custom cars and automobiles that are made by the pigs and the birds respectively. Angry Birds Pop, which is the new bubble match game that they have. And the theme song was all over the ding-dang place. It didn't... I think because I got them all, even despite getting all of the references, I agree that it didn't hit me over the head with them.
Yeah, it was kind of weird. They found this balance, or maybe I don't know, maybe I knew that it was just, that this is to entertain. I'm not looking for anything deeper, and so I could just unabashedly enjoy them all. I think
it started so strong.
Yeah, I mean, but nonetheless, even a good film can have too many references that knock you out of something, and this one, they had all the references there. And Yes.
And then a couple of the slingshot stuff, but it's Angry Birds. We know that's coming.
Well, and I think it's because it has that kind of unique build-up. You know, in the game, that's what you do. That's kind of what you expect to happen. So the idea of launching your citizens at a pig town is not as ludicrous as it would be in an unrelated game.
Yeah. And of course, at the very end of the movie, Red ends up saving one last egg that hatches into three blue chicks. And the final send-off is the three birds getting into the slingshot and firing off together, and then splitting off as the three mini birds that we're used to in the game. Is that the Avengers-esque tease that we need for Angry Birds 2?
They're going to come back, team up, and it will be the Birdvengers? Angrier Birds.
Angrier Birds. You know what? They probably will call it Angrier Birds. Or Angry Birds 2 even angrier.
Something like that.
Now
we're mad.
Angry Birds 2, angry and loving it. I don't know.
Embrace your angry.
Embrace the anger. It's the plot follows is essentially an extended version of the miniature cutscenes in the game.
Right.
The picture, you see how peaceful the island is, and Dre and I both had opposite opinions, so I want to know yours too. Like, it got to a point where I went, okay, when did the pigs show up? And she was like, oh yeah, the pigs. When the boat came in, and she was like, what's on the? Oh, that's right, it's the pigs. What did you have waiting for the pigs to show up? Was it, all right, we better get this plot moving, or like, here we go?
Yeah, by the time they showed up, I was ready. It did happen fairly quickly. They did so much setup so quickly, and they did it well. I mean, you had a comprehensive idea of what was going on in that world and what it was like. And so I was like, okay, I think we have all the basic facts now. Now it's time for the pigs.
Yeah, and we had the montage of Red and Red's life that ended up being a lot of the stuff from the trailers, which I was like, oh, good. Then we're going to get a lot of fresh stuff that we've never seen before. Good use of songs, really good soundtrack.
Really good soundtrack. There were some great song pairings that just,
we got
made you stop.
Rickrolled. We got Rickrolled by the Mighty Eagle. You monster.
I'm never sad to be Rickrolled. Never.
I mean, it's a good song.
I'm always happy when someone successfully Rickrolls me, so that was good.
We got a new song from Blake Shelton that was a key performance from the Pigs. They had a cowboy show.
Yeah, that was also a weird moment.
There was a lot of
That was weird.
pig butts and implied nudity, and there was a full Monty reference. So there were some jokes in here that were definitely there were some jokes that were definitely for the adults. Some stuff that were like, okay, let's give some for the kids. There was a visual gag of the birds and the bees health clinic.
No, it wasn't even health. Full out fertility.
Fertility
Birds
clinic.
and the bees
Birds and the bees fertility clinic. Which was in a giant egg, and it didn't really force it down, but you'd see it a couple times and Dre went, oh my god. But
it was there. I mean, it was very prominent. No one pointed it out and was like, oh, look at that, but it was there.
When the pigs were getting the tour, the first picture that we see taken from the photographer was of the birds and the bees clinic, and it was like a still, so you could see a couple seconds of it.
Right.
Oh god, what is that? There was a hug exchange. I don't know what sort of a respectable business that could turn out to be. But then they make a joke at his expense later in the movie.
Several times throughout the movie. He never gets his hugs, and then
he finally does.
Everything at the end changes.
Bless him. The piggies end up becoming friends, or fake becoming friends with everybody while they're building some sort of a mechanism. And Red's the only one who's trying to convince everybody. Chuck and Bomb are like, all right, let's see what's going on here. And the pigs end up stealing all of the eggs, and putting it in this case after we see hatchlings and go they're stealing children. They're going to the pigs are going to eat children.
Basically, yeah.
And that's terrifying.
Yeah, but they just kind of gloss over it, so we don't think about it.
The kids go, oh, eggs, and the adults go, oh my god, because the importance of hatchlings and family, and seeing the families who were really rocked by the loss of their eggs is really sobering, which is weird to put for a movie this.
It was a different take on on birds and eggs relationships. So the family was very played up. Kind of the
importance of family, and Red sort of wanting that connection that he never had. Though I'm entirely certain that Angry Birds 2 will be about Red's parents and Red finding his parents, because that's what every animated Madagascar 2 is.
You've got to go
parents.
into the parents.
Yep.
Yeah.
Especially if you're an orphan.
It is a classic recipe.
Yeah. Why not?
Yeah.
And so Red has to the entire island goes to Red because he suspected them all along. In order to mount a rescue to Piggy Island, they bring the slingshot and all havoc ensues. There's some good comedy. You get to see all of the birds use their abilities.
Super gratuitous. It was great.
It was really violent. If you think about it, it was really violent. It was a kamikaze scene where people were just like, whatever, launch me. We got to get our kids back.
I'm going to explode in that pig's house and destroy everything.
I've got to blow up this launch platform so that the pigs can't get in their planes to kill all of us.
But it's funny because they're little birds.
They're birds and pigs. It's little green pigs and colorful birds.
It's fine.
For kids.
Totally.
This is probably the most selfless act of violence in a movie. When an entire community is like, I will, if I go down, taking out some of these pigs to get my children back, I call that a good Sunday.
Yeah, none of them are worried about what's going to happen when they hit these buildings. It's just, we're going to do that.
And the only frame of reference they have is, Red survived, and he hit a rock, and it exploded.
Whoa.
What? Why not?
We're all safe then.
Yeah. So
launch ourselves into buildings.
It was a really fun ride, a fun adventure, some really good puns. We'll talk more about the puns when we get to favorite lines. So a little bit about this production. I found it really interesting. The budget was about $80 million, 75 million euro. Rovio invested over 100 million euros into the movie, which made it the largest film budget in the history of Finland, which before it was only 8.5 million euro.
I mean, they blew it out of the water.
Absolutely insane. Even more so, the production budget, the promotion budget. So the production budget, about $80 million. The promotion budget, $400 million. Why? All you got to do, you change the logos on all your games, which they already did. I think they're doing McDonald's. There's a whole bunch of print media and all of the video media as well.
Which is crazy because I feel like this franchise was big enough, it was popular enough to attract quite a few viewers just on its own merit, just on the name alone, without really having to push or get the word out there. I mean, the word's already out there.
I think the issue was people going, an Angry Birds movie?
Wow.
And that, I think is no, I mean, all of us. I think that was solved with the trailers. But you didn't have to, like, you do some print here, some print there. I mean, they made a deal with AMC and made these fancy bomb pins, millions of dollars. So I don't understand there are the three. Do you know what the three most household video game franchises are?
I'm guessing Angry Birds.
Angry Birds is one.
At least one of them. Yeah.
And the other two are Minecraft and Super Mario. So those three, if you cough Angry Birds, people go, "Oh, did you new Angry Birds?" I played Angry Birds before. Anybody who had a cell phone could essentially had Angry Birds.
At one point or another, you played Angry Birds.
Either the free demo or you spent $1. Mm-hmm. And I spent $1 on Angry Birds too, and Angry Birds Pop. I never played Bad Piggies, but that was supposed to be good. So yeah, $400 million on promotion. Or no, I'm sorry. $300 million, and then once you add the production budget, it's about a $400 million budget. Absolutely insane. So a little bit about the directors too. Clay Kaytisand started his career at Walt Disney Animated Studios. He was the head of animation while working on Tangled, Wreck-It Ralph, and Frozen. He ended up leaving the studio in 2013. And Reilly is an Irish citizen who also worked at Walt Disney Studios as an animator and storyboard artist. Some of the films that he worked on included Hotel Transylvania, Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs, and Spider-Man 2. Not Amazing Spider-Man 2, but OG Spider-Man 2. So wonderful pedigree on these two. Sony, a bit of a Sony pedigree as well with Reilly, and they made their directorial debut on Angry Birds. Solid effort.
You know what? And it
all
worked.
Around. It did.
Yeah.
And disagree. I mean, I haven't seen any of the Hotel Transylvanias, but they don't look like my style, even though I really like Gendy Tartakovsky.
First one was cute.
First one was cute. Don't know about the second one.
Yeah. I don't think I saw the second one.
Because the animation seemed really frantic to me.
Yeah, animation wasn't strong point, I don't think.
But the script is all right.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
Whereas this one, the movie looked absolutely beautiful.
It really
Super
did.
colorful. All the bird designs were fun. It didn't seem weird that they had legs.
No.
As opposed to, and anytime they drew like the stenographer in the courtroom drew red, it was red from the game, and it was just like, wow, you're seeing these two art styles next to each other, and if this is the future of Angry Birds, I'm in.
Yeah, it was interesting because the difference wasn't really jarring when the movie started. It was like, okay, that's Angry Birds, that's what you're watching, and then you'd see them drawing, you'd see it side by side with the little characters that we get in the games, and it was like, oh wow, they're really, really different.
And we even had, when Red finally got launched, and at the end he was traveling at such a speed that made him look like the classic bald bird, BALLED bird, not BALD like the mighty eagle. So the critical and box office, the critical is a little bit confusing to me, and the box office is not. As of this past weekend, it has made $283.4 million. So from a production standpoint, that's a hit. That's 100% a hit. That's 4 times its production budget. But once you put promotion in there, I don't know where the studio draws that line.
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, I have no doubt that it'll eventually pass that point too, via rewatch, and then when it comes out on DVD.
I would see this movie again.
Good. Yeah, I wouldn't mind watching it again. especially, you know, with the DVD at home, if I've got some time to kill and just want something that I don't have to tune in and think about too much, just something to laugh at.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's doing pretty well. I think it was number 4 this past weekend, and with how many big movies are at the box office right now, that's still doing pretty well.
Holding up.
IMDb has it at a 7.9 out of 10. Here's the surprising part. Rotten Tomatoes has it at a 43% critic score and a 52% audience score.
Yeah, the critic score doesn't surprise me so much.
Really?
No, I mean, it's still animated. There's still a bit of a bias in that direction.
Oh, yeah, I suppose
I mean,
that's right.
and it's based off of a video game as much as you want to look at it. It's still there. It still exists.
I don't like critic bias when it comes to that stuff. Just because it's a topic that you may not be okay with, open yourself up to it. You might be surprised.
And yet we still see it all the time. But the audience surprises me.
The audience surprises me too, because but though to be honest, I haven't heard once I found out Patrick wasn't joining us, I was asking around the studio who's seen Angry Birds, He's like, oh, I'm not seeing that. Was that okay? And I was like, dude, it was great. Oh. Well, I guess I might see it then. But again, it came out in a very busy season where some people would rather probably watch Civil War again.
Very surprised, that it came out so close to Civil War. I mean, it did great against it. It's, opening weekend. But still, I feel like that does take the draw away from people who might just go to the movies and be like, okay, Angry Birds is playing. That's the best choice right now. But if you've got going up against Captain America, it's a harder sell.
That's actually probably one of the best subtle reviews. That could have been your speed run. Angry Birds is playing? All right. It's Saturday. I don't want to see an action movie. I just want to see some colorful birds. Yeah. And some green pigs. Why not? Steve Green from IndieWire says, maybe at this point it's too much to hope for an animated film like The Angry Birds to exist as anything other than marketing fodder, but hopefully it's not too much to ask for that hashtag content to have a shred of substance to it. Which I disagree with. I thought there was you said there wasn't a lesson, which I can see, but I think the story wasn't too cookie cutter. I mean, ultimately it's about a hero saving the day from an evil king, which we get all the time.
We absolutely do. And you know what, but it was a well put together story. It didn't feel like, oh, here we go again. We know exactly what's going to happen. I mean, mostly because it involved birds slingshotting themselves into a castle. And it was their main attack, but
it was also at a good pace.
Yes.
We had the thing of, all right, time for the pigs, because we were feeling, all right, we've got everything established. We know all of our characters. Now, how will they adjust to this threat?
Right. And I mean, most of that, again, I think comes from the fact that we knew that that's what was going to happen.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what we expected. So when we were ready for it, we knew we were ready for it. Mm-hmm. And I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. We had everything we needed at that point. It wasn't like the pigs would just suddenly show up and we're like, hold on. We don't have enough background to go on yet. This doesn't make any sense.
Yeah. And it's not like the movie open is like, this is red pigs. No. We got enough time with all of our characters. And then we spent even more time with them and the Mighty Eagle, which made that scene stronger. If we didn't have as much of an establishment with them, and seeing Red's Mighty Eagle comic and the poster and how everybody sort of treated him. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was a fun ride. Peter Travels from Rolling Stone, very reputable film critic, repackaged way past the time when the game was a peak obsession. This animated joyride is still an irresistible invitation to shake your sillies out. I totally agree.
I absolutely agree with that. That's exactly how I feel.
It was a really silly movie. Mm-hmm. You got pig puns and bird puns, stupid jokes that anybody could appreciate. Though I am a real big proponent of the oft-used pun. I don't know about you.
I like puns.
So maybe we were a little bit more open to it, but
maybe.
we also didn't know what we were. We knew basically what to expect, but we went going with an open mind, and you can have yourself a good time like us and Mr. Peter Travers. So we're going to go into some of our segments. We're going to talk about our favorite lines, and for this movie, because there were so many, our favorite Puns.
Oh gosh. All right,
So let's why don't we start with puns?
with puns. All right. What's one of yours?
Mine.
I wrote any.
If you're still looking for an excuse to see the movie, the puns are definitely a reason to see it. Sort of the last friendly action from the pigs is this island-wide party, and serving as the musical accompaniment at the party was both Steve Aoki, which we all popped kind of heavy
Lost
for,
it.
and Daft Pork, which I don't remember if they were name dropped, but it put me in the mindset
It was
to think that.
it was great.
Absolutely. And at the party, pigs in a blanket.
Oh yeah. I mean, just constantly.
That's all you need. That's all you need is some good pig puns in your life.
At one point they're offering piggyback
Piggyback
rides, and then Leonard at one point says, I don't remember the exact, but he says something in pig Latin, and then he goes inside and goes, "That was pig Latin."
And it's
It's like, oh god.
like, okay.
All right.
How far are we going?
Great.
Because I'm already in. I'm already in
there.
full speed. Did you have any bird ones? Well, I think the bird ones came into play in our favorite lines.
Probably, yeah. A lot of them did. Just
When Red gets sent to court-ordered, or he gets sentenced to court-ordered anger management, he says very casually, not like a yuck time to laugh, but he says just very offhandedly, "I'll pluck my life." Like really quick and
Nothing.
subtle. And I was like, perfect. That's awesome. I love it.
It was
Wasn't
good.
too much. Absolutely adored it.
And I mean, they did it a few more times
Using
in the
pluck.
movie, and it was still it was great.
What do you got for one of yours?
Let's see. Trying to pick my favorite. Oh, well, I have to mention, it wasn't exactly a pun, but we didn't talk about it yet, and we have to talk about it.
Let's do it.
The best visual gag, I think,
Okay.
was when they climb up the mountain the first time.
Oh god.
They climb up the mountain.
So Mighty Eagle there's this huge eagle-shaped mountain that's where Mighty Eagle lives. Like, oh, that's just an old wives' tale. But they end up trying to get him to help save the island.
We're gonna climb that mountain and we're gonna see.
And so we see them climbing up this mountain, and as they reach the top of it, they look and see Mighty Eagle's mountain. They climbed up the wrong mountain.
So they're on top of this little mountain, just completely just in despair, and Bomb just lays down. Just has an existential crisis.
They do a time lapse that covers like 2 days of him just reacting to we climbed up the wrong mountain and like like fetal position, or I suppose egg position, and the other two trying to console him, and it's just it was really random.
But I mean, I get it was a really, really clever way to show a passage of time. And it was
these
also
guys have been going-
hilarious.
Yeah, we need to pass the time somehow. Why not Bomb having an existential crisis on the top of the mountain?
Why not?
I will say, speaking of Bomb, another one. It was really stupid, and I admit that. But I don't remember what the setup was. But Bomb says, "Oh, I just went boom boom before class."
Oh yeah.
It's really stupid. Really stupid, especially because I think Adventure Time is bringing boom boom back as just random vernacular. So and they equated him exploding to a couple of inappropriate things for that adults should only know about. It's kids don't stop it. Just stop asking about it. So that made it hit a little bit more as well. I absolutely love. What do you got?
So there was a point where Red is walking down the street and he sees just a whole bunch of hatchlings with their mother, at least, if not both their parents, and he goes, "Ever thought about bird control?"
Oh God, that was. Yeah,
man.
I would say. If you haven't been sold to see the movie yet, it's worth it for Red. Just Red, he speaks for all of us, and there's a whole bunch of societal stuff that occurs in on Bird Island that we wish we could say the exact same thing. Sometimes you just can't.
It's the things you think sometimes, yeah, and you don't let yourself say it, but he says it.
Because he is I mean, it's weird to say American. I mean, the only thing American about Red is the fact that he's voiced by Jason Sudeikis, but it's a Finnish company on an island that has nothing to do with the world that we know. Though they did make a lot of references to being flightless, or they made enough references to being flightless birds as opposed to flight-based birds.
Right, yeah, they kind of set that up early on, too, when making the speech about, like, how happy they were not to have to fly, and how there seemed to be, like, this...
Because you wouldn't know where to go?
It was almost frightening. Yeah, it was almost this frightening, like, mentality of, this is the best place ever, you don't want to go anywhere else, so that's why we're flightless. You wouldn't want to leave even if you could, but you can't.
You don't want to leave.
And so that got borderline, like, frightening for a little bit.
A little bit. But this is a fun movie. A lot of good dialogue, a lot of good puns. Just too many puns to count. Mother punners. Mother pluckers. So let's move on to recast. So what we like to do here, it's sort of a shade of what they do over on Action Movie Anatomy. But this, for us, we do it back in the year that the game came out. Angry Birds is 7 years old. It's so bizarre to think where technology and the iPhone and everything was 7 years ago. But 2009 was a big year for comedies. There's a lot of great actors out there to choose from. We're going to be doing Red, Chuck, Bomb, Matilda, Harold, and Eagle. We're doing the whole gamut. So, who do you have? Let's start from the bottom, then get up to Red. Who do you have for Eagle?
Okay, so this one popped into my head, and I could not get it out no matter how hard I tried. And I really can't justify it, but I really want to see Pierce Brosnan as Mighty Eagle. I just need it.
That took me out of it. That's... I like that. On that same vein, it would be maybe a little bit too Chicken Run, but Mel Gibson could do that sort of out of work, out of shape. Oh, I like Pierce Brosnan, though. He doesn't get a good chance to be silly. Like, he was good in Mamma Mia.
But he could go even sillier, and I just think, like, seeing him do that as Mighty Eagle, like,
I like that a lot. So you win. Harold, King of the Pigs.
Harold, all right. Mr. Simon Pegg.
Interesting, you went British too.
Did you go British?
Yes, I did. I went Ricky Gervais.
Oh, that's beautiful.
What is it? The History of Lying had just come out that year.
Oh, that's so
and
good.
he was just sort of on the rise. I think he would be good, but I like Simon Pegg. Simon Pegg might have been a little bit more subtle, and I could believe him to be nice.
If they wanted to play that kind of nice guy, these are the good guys coming in and really just visiting. They're helpful.
I can believe that a little bit more, but Ricky would give you a little bit more of that. I don't like them. I don't like them at all. That maniacal
kind of simmering underneath. Oh, that'd be great. I like yours a lot.
Okay,
it'd be perfect.
So far we got Pierce Brosnan and Ricky Gervais. Let's bring it back stateside. I'm kidding. I don't care. Matilda, our reserved anger management coach that can poop fireballs.
I had a couple of options for this.
Yeah.
Just because there were a couple of ladies at that time that probably could have done a great job as Angry Birds, or trying not to be Angry Birds. So the first one I came up with was Angela Kinsey. She was Angela in The Office.
Yes. Ooh. Okay. Oh yeah, that would have been.
Just this rage is always there. She's got that perky.
Yeah, that's good. Funnily enough, when I was looking through this, I went, wait, that's Maya Rudolph. She already voiced this character.
Yeah.
She did such a great job, but she was also, she was doing a lot of really great indie movies at the time. So I think she might have still been cast as Matilda.
I thought that was absolutely, yeah.
But speaking of The Office, Rashida Jones.
Yeah, I almost cast The Office. I was just like, why don't we take The Office cast and put them in Angry Birds?
Steve Carell is the Mighty Eagle.
Oh, they could have all done it. I was just moving them on over.
Interesting. Who was your other Matilda?
So, I had three altogether.
Oh, goodness.
Mindy Kaling was one of my other ones.
All right, still in The Office.
Still in The Office.
Birds.
That would have been fun. And then the other one, Liza Whale.
Okay.
She was, Paris from Gilmore Girls. She's in How to Get Away with Murder right now.
Okay, yeah,
Bonnie.
I know her. Yeah, I know her. Okay.
I think she's got that kind of carefully controlled, could go crazy at any moment type attitude.
I like that. I still like your first one. That's really good. Who do you have for Bomb?
Bomb. So back, 2009. This is kind of right before Chris Pratt really blew up, and I think this would be kind of in his, possibly in his wheelhouse.
That's, well, yeah, I think that would be a good way to pop him up, but I think they would want to use established folks, because like Danny McBride has a really long, still TV, so I really like that wheelhouse. I don't know if Sony would take the chance on him. That's good though.
At that point,
I think he could do it. I went Vince Vaughn.
Oh, I like.
Because you know what, Vince Vaughn could do that.
He's that kind of calm, sweet, like demeanor type.
He can do it if he can.
Yeah.
If he wants to, he could be pretty sweet. Mm-hmm. But we just know him as a sarcastic jerk.
Oh yeah.
But the purity of him in Dodgeball is sort of the one that I'm thinking about for Baum.
He's got that capability for sure.
Mm-hmm. What do you got for Chuck?
So Chuck, Ed Helms.
That's really funny that you say that, because that year, 2009, also marked the release of The Hangover, which featured Ed Helms and also featured Zach Galifianakis.
That was one of my
which I thought for Chuck as well. But I thought Ed Helms too, and I was like, I should keep it to one.
There's a few. I know. I just lost it. No.
But I like Ed Helms just because that was one of my picks too. I have to say Ed Helms is a better choice. Oh, that's good. And finally, for our hero, Red, who do you got?
For Red, Adam Scott.
Adam Scott. That
would be real fun.
Pretty dang good. This was a big year for either. Never mind, I forgot his name. Paul Rudd. Just because he's that everyman that we can kind of relate to, and he's got one of those voices.
Yeah, he'd have that resigned kind of just. Screw it.
It's sort of like what we're seeing with him as Scott Lang right now in Ant-Man. Mm-hmm. So I think he could have a lot of fun with that. But who would you cast in the Angry Birds movie if it was 2009? Let us know in the comments down below or on iTunes. We are on iTunes. Do us a favor. If you're listening to us on iTunes, check us out on YouTube on the Popcorn Talk Network. If you're watching us on YouTube, go to iTunes. Leave us a star rating. 5 stars if you're nasty. 4 if you think we're okay. Remember, the other stars don't work. Leave us a review. Leave us a couple of stars. This movie... we seem to have more of a bombastic time, no pun intended, on the really well, maybe not, on the really bad movies. Like in the studio today, the first Tomb Raider was on, and I was just like, oh god, and people were like, this was pretty bad. And I was like, don't even get me started.
I don't want to talk about it.
I don't want to talk about it. Then people were like, no, Street Fighter, and I was like, don't. The second Street Fighter, there was a second Street Fighter. Okay, everybody sit down. It's lesson time.
No, don't spread that.
No
one needs to know. We went through that, so people don't have to.
Exactly, that's the idea. This is our life's goal, to save you from doing it. But we think you should go out and see Angry Birds. Do you have any final thoughts on the film?
You know what? They had a lot of really dumb gags, and they were really great and very entertaining, and that is an hour and a half of my life that I would happily, spend laughing.
I'd relive that. Yeah.
It was good.
It's a good half hour to relive. We saw it in a relatively small theater with not a big crowd. I think if there was nobody else in the theater, we probably could have had an even better time.
It would have been pretty great. Yeah, it is definitely a commentary movie. It is a social movie. I think it's one that you put on with a couple of friends and you guys have fun with it, because you don't really have to pay attention to like subtleties of the plot, because there really aren't that many. It's it's a very straightforward kind of progression. So if you talk over 1 second, you're not going to miss anything huge.
It's an action-packed thrill ride. Very fun movie. If you want an excuse, take a nephew or a niece, or just go on like a Saturday morning when nobody else is going to the movies.
Yeah, we still got the weird look from our
what
year.
There
he kind of was like, Angry Birds?
Yeah.
Yes, Angry Birds. That's what we're seeing.
You think we're going to go see that other weird movie, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2 Out of the Shadows? No. Too long of a title. Get me out of here.
I'm not into that. I can't even say that in one breath. I mean, it's not happening.
Go see it. It's a good matinee. We would recommend it. Would you give this an extra life? I mean, game over?
It's coming anyway, so yeah, let's do it.
We might as well be kind of open to it.
Angrier Birds, let's do it.
Angry Birds 2, The Streets. Let us know what your Angry Birds sequel title is in the comments down below. I give it an extra life just because I enjoyed it, and I would sit through another story of these characters.
I could see them go more in depth for sure.
I agree. I say so too. So before we sign off, we wanted to let you know that next week, to make up for Memorial Day, we are going to be back on our regular schedule. Next week, we're going to be doing Warcraft, the highly anticipated Blizzard epic that we hope surprises us because the reviews are not doing too great.
Which is really sad.
Which is really unfortunate when a surprise hit like Angry Birds can come out, but the widely, hugely advertised Warcraft, which is essentially in this summer season, it's kind of a gimme.
It's going to be so disappointing if it.
I hope not. I hope we're going in with lowered expectations that get changed. Hopefully. So if you want to talk along with us, we'll be in chat next time. My phone totally died. So if you want to be with us in chat, go see Warcraft this weekend. We're going to be doing it in IMAX 3D to get the full experience. But until then, Stacey, where can the folks find you on the Webternet?
Find me on Twitter at Stacey Shuttles or all across the web, including Twitter at Nerds Doing Stuff, where I'm a nerd doing stuff.
It's a wonderful channel, website. You guys don't have a channel yet.
Not yet.
Just stop talking about things that don't exist. So yes, you can find me on Twitter at Mark B. Donica. Use the hashtag VGMAnatomy in order to talk to us about all of the different stuff that we've been talking about. Go to popcorntalk.com. That's where we have a backlog of all of the movies that we've ever talked about. Subscribe to us on YouTube. Find me on YouTube, youtube.com/soapboxmarkd. I've been putting up some Overwatch videos. Little bit obsessed, just a little bit. I put up a fun video today about the play of the game metric and how kind of broken it is. But I'm having a lot of fun. I'm on Twitch too, so follow me on Twitter, Mark B. Donica, for that. Follow Patrick at P to the D's. Follow all of us here at the Popcorn Talk on Twitter. We'll see you for Warcraft next week at the arcade. Why not?
From producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire Popcorn Talk Network, we would like to thank you for tuning in. For questions or comments, be sure to visit popcorntalk.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of the Popcorn Talk Network.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of the Popcorn Talk Network or its owners or principals.